Hello and welcome to Gaming News with Jake. Here you'll find all the gaming news by me. Probably. So I bet that your first thought is, Jake, where do your amiibos go? Well, my mum and dad are like rearranging the house and they told me that I should take down my amiibos and they wanted to see some stuff on my wall. So yeah, that's that. So I've done my best to not make it boring. Sneakapara. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about the rest of the E3 2018 presentation. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Nintendo, Sony's, and Microsoft's press conference. Now, I don't normally mesh these big main ones into one video, but with Nintendo and Sony, you know, they talked about so little that I can literally probably, I just decided that, you know what, it's not worth putting them in a single video. I might as well just mash all these together now. So, with that in mind, let's get on to it. So to start things off, I'm going to start with Nintendo's Direct. Now, what they started with was Fire Emblem Three Houses. This is their new Fire Emblem, which is coming out on Nintendo Switch. So this is quite exciting. I played Fire Emblem Awakening, which was on the 3DS, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I played through that multiple times on different difficulties, and I really enjoyed that game. So the fact that we're getting like a console Fire Emblem game, what plays like a Fire Emblem game as well, I'm actually quite excited for this. I hope it plays well and I hope it is good. Some things they showed is, it looks like there's some like free roam, maybe, I don't know, they very briefly showed this, but there could possibly be like a hub world you can run around in. So that looked quite cool. And also there's like army control, so like now you have like your main sort of heroes, but they can like control like armies. So for example, the armies are like represented as like 5 people, and each block you can have like a maximum of 5 people in, and you select that like chunk of army and you can like go attack another part. So for example, maybe you've like weakened down a certain square of enemies, so you've like weakened them down to like 3 people in that same square. You could get like these 5 people in the army and command them to attack them, and obviously get the advantage and dwindle down their army over time, so you can get the advantage of actually attacking the main heroes. So they're kind of like, from the looks of it, like assist sort of like AIs to sort of dwindle down the opponent, so you can go in there with like a main attack. That's the sort of impression I got from it, and that could be very interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously they showed some like anime cutscenes, you know, their animation always looks stunning and beautiful, so I'm quite looking forward to seeing that sort of stuff as well. And they released an announce date for it, which was spring 19... I was doing so well and I messed it up at the end. Damn. So let's try that again. The date for it is spring 2019. They then made a quick announcement of Fortnite coming to Nintendo Switch, and you can download it for free right now. So yeah, this was like a no-brainer. You know, there was a lot of speculations and quite a few leaks coming out saying, you know, Fortnite was coming to Nintendo Switch. And, you know, it makes sense, right? Fortnite is the most popular game, you know, right now, and for Nintendo to sort of get on that bandwagon, and I don't know, it you know, it sort of kind of works, you know, like being able to play Fortnite on the go, like that's quite appealing to a lot of people. So like, imagine if you're like on a very long journey or something, you know, playing some Fortnite while you're on that journey, you know, that will appeal to, you know, a lot of people. And it's doing very well. It's already got like 3 million downloads already. But with that, I know there's been quite a few issues with PS4. I'm not exactly sure on the details, so please don't like quote me on this, but I think it's something like PS4 is like locking accounts on it or something. I could be wrong on that, but I know there is some issues with like PS4 players trying to play Fortnite on Nintendo Switch. But yeah, it's cross-play, so Xbox players, PC players, and Nintendo Switch players can all play together. Unfortunately, PS4 don't want to get on there. I imagine that's probably where all the problems are coming from, right? But yeah, that is Fortnite on Nintendo Switch, and you can play it right now if you wish to. They then made another quick announcement of Overcooked 2. Now, I was actually quite chuffed with this because I really enjoyed Overcooked. You know, I found it was a great kind of co-op game, like me and Sophie played it together, and especially at Christmas time, you know, I brought the Xbox down at Christmas and my whole family played Overcooked, and you know, they're not gamers, like my mum and dad don't game, neither does my sister, but they really enjoyed Overcooked and like got hooked on it like over Christmas. So, you know, I went downstairs and I was like, hey, guess what? And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, now it's Overcooked 2. And like, they were generally excited. They were like, oh yeah, Overcooked 2, baby. So yeah, it is a really good sort of party game and just a good buddy up game as well. Like if you have a mate over, you can have some fun on it. So yeah, I'm quite excited for that. And that is coming out August 7th of this year. And now the big main thing what took the rest of their presentation was, of course, Super Smash Bros, which has an official name now as Super Smash Bros Ultimate. So the big first announcement they made about Super Smash Bros Ultimate is that every single character what has been in Super Smash Bros will be in Super Smash Bros Ultimate. So yes, we are talking every previous Super Smash Bros game, any character is going to be in this. So yes, we're going to see returns like Cloud, Solid Snake, Pichu, Young Link. Every character you can think of what has been in Super Smash Bros, even if they're DLC, will be in Ultimate. And this, I think, is fantastic. This is such a great idea, especially seeing Solid Snake back. You know, there was such a huge demand for Solid Snake to return, and when, you know, Konami had their, you know, their hiccups, everyone was like, well, Solid Snake is never going to appear in Super Smash Bros. Ever again. But that's not true anymore. He is appearing again, and I know that so many people are hyped about this. And on top of that, yes, the original voice actor, David Hayter, is voicing Solid Snake for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So, very good news. I'm glad about seeing Solid Snake in Super Smash Bros. That's like my most hype about it. On top of that, they also announced 3 new characters. So, we already knew about the Inkling. They showed some Inkling stuff. They announced an Echo character, which is sort of like a character what already exists but with slight changes. So we're talking like Dr. Mario, Dark Pit, Lucina, those sort of characters. So we have another Echo character as Daisy, which of course Daisy will play like Peach but with slight differences here and there. And then they announced Ridley from Metroid. So Ridley has been a huge demand for Super Smash Bros. For such a long time. I mean, such a long time that it sort of became a meme for Super Smash Bros. To get Ridley into it. Well, Ridley is now a actual character for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so that's good stuff. Now, a big thing they tweaked is the dodging mechanic. So we can now dodge in mid-air. I believe that you can only dodge once in mid-air, so you can't constantly like keep dodging in the air. But this could be a big game changer because, you know, dodging in mid-air could save your life from falling off or getting knocked off, that sort of thing. You know, that extra little push could get you back on the stage for another fight. So that's quite interesting. And also, dodging repeatedly gives you a penalty. So if you constantly keep dodging, you'll see that you'll slow down and you'll become more open for your opponent to attack. So you've really got to space out your dodging now, which is very interesting. They also said that the GameCube adapter will be compatible for the Nintendo Switch. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but hey, they announced it in the trailer, like, yes, you can use a GameCube controller for it. And a release date. The release date is December 7th, 2018. Now, my overall impressions of Nintendo's Direct was actually quite disappointing, and I know that you're probably thinking like, disappointed? How can you be disappointed with they showed Super Smash Brothers? How can you be disappointed? Well, apparently that's what you're all like. Well, I tell you why, like, yes, it's all well and good showing Super Smash Bros. And I'm not whacking it anyway, like, I'm very excited for it, and, like, you know, I'm hyped for it, and definitely will get it. But, you know, I wish they showed more, like, I wish they came out with more, and especially, like, you gotta think of, you know, all the people who weren't Super Smash Bros. Fans. You know, technically that Direct they did had nothing for them, like absolutely nothing. So you gotta think like Super Smash, like who aren't Super Smash Bros. Fans, like they're probably extremely disappointed that they didn't get any sort of like other news with it. You know, like I was really hoping that we'll see like an announcement of Animal Crossing for Nintendo Switch, and like I'm talking like a proper Animal Crossing, like not some gimmick spin-off, like a real Animal Crossing for Nintendo Switch. I so had my fingers crossed that they were gonna like announce that, but unfortunately they didn't, and it really does break my heart. Like it just seems such a perfect match for Animal Crossing to be on Nintendo Switch, like being able to play that at home or on the go. Like, you know, it's a match made in heaven for that game, and you know, I know I keep saying it, but I just really wish they, even if it was just like a title what came up, like they didn't actually show anything, it was just, yes, Animal Crossing for Nintendo Switch is in development. Like, even if they said that, I would be like, yes, yes. But they didn't, and you know, it really does break my heart. But we're going to move on from Nintendo's Direct. So now I'm moving on to Sony's press conference. So, boy. As you can tell by my impression, it was awful. I haven't got a clue what on earth they were doing. It baffles me. It really does. The pacing of it was just so confusing and so slow that you had people on Twitter, like game journalists, on Twitter at the conference tweeting out saying, I have no idea what's happening. I don't know if it's the end. We're being told that we have to move somewhere now. Like, when you confuse your audience, you know you have fucked up massively. It was just a mess. And then on top of that, their intro was like a guy playing a banjo from The Last of Us 2, like he's the music composer. He was playing a banjo for longer than what I would have hoped for. Like, they did this last year and the year before that. Just get on to the games instead of dragging your conference out with music. I don't... Boy! Anyway, after the long-ass banjo music, they finally showed The Last of Us Part 2. So the game takes place, obviously, quite a few years later, and we have an older Ellie. Now, the game starts off with Ellie at this sort of, like, ballroom dance. I don't know what exactly it was, but it's some sort of party, right? And some guy comes over, and he mentions about Ellie's dad, which we all know that Ellie doesn't have a dad. So this can only mean that Joel will be in the game. And for those who don't know who Joel is the main protagonist from The Last of Us 1. And he had Ellie by his side and sort of like guided her through. So we can assume that obviously Joel is still around. It's a bit weird why they didn't actually show Joel. Like, I'm surprised they didn't, you know, have him appear at the end and let the crowd get hyped up. But he made no appearance, but we can assume he's back. We can assume. Maybe he's not, I don't know. But, you know, The Last of Us Part 2, it looks pretty goddamn good. You know, it looks graphically amazing. Animations look spectacular. Like, god damn, that's probably the best video game animations I have seen probably ever. You know, they looked so realistic, and just like how smooth they were. Like, you know, in most video games you can tell like they sort of pop into the animation and then sort of pop out of it. But damn, like these looked genuine. Like they looked so realistic. Like I'm actually like just stunned how good the animation was. You know, combat looks a lot more improved. I felt like, you know, Last of Us 1, you know, it's a fantastic game. I really enjoyed it, but I did feel like the combat could, you know, slug here and there. But, you know, combat looks a lot more fluent, you know, especially, again, talking about those animations, you know, those animations really does help the way the combat works and looks now. So that's a great thing to see. There's also some new mechanics. It looks like there's some like hiding mechanics, like you can prone in long grass now. You can go under cars and like aim your gun under the car and like shoot people's feet out, which, you know, is really awesome to do. Also you can take people hostage. So like there was a part where Ellie was like running towards a guy. She like smashed him in the head with like a bottle and quickly grabbed him, turned around and like used him as a hostage in like a bullet shield, which, you know, looks all awesome. But you know, this all looks great, and I'm not gonna like, you know, doubt it for that, but my concern is that I hope they can, you know, get this story down, because, you know, that was the big point about The Last of Us 1, was its story. So I hope they have like a really good story for The Last of Us 2. But, you know, that's as much as I can say on it. You know, gameplay looked fantastic. If you haven't seen it, really do recommend watching it. Next they showed Ghost of Tsushima. Now, this game looked stunning. Like, its graphics looked amazing. Not only that, combat looks really fun and satisfying. So with the combat, it looked like there was like different stance, so you could like sort of do like a high stance and like a low stance. So I imagine that will come into like effect when they show more of that. But on top of that, it looks like if you do good counters, you get like instant kills, and that looks very satisfying. So for an example of this, he was like sort of ready with his sword, like ready, and the guy's running up to him and was about to strike, and he sort of like kind of went through him as he like drew his sword, and the guy sort of goes whoa, and like the like sword slash kind of appears like very slowly, and he just like sort of drops to the floor dead. And I know I did a great impression, but yeah, it looks very satisfying and fun. It makes you feel like a badass. There was also another part where he sneaks up on a group of enemies and everything goes like in slow motion, but you're still like in normal speed. So like you're darting between them doing like instant kills, and then like once the kind of slow motion ends, they all kind of like do their death animations and all drop at once sort of thing. So yeah, real good stuff. I'm really looking forward to it, and that is Ghost of Tsushima. Next they showed the Resident Evil 2 remake. Now, I know so many people are very excited for this, because Resident Evil 2 has always had that sort of name attached to it as like one of the best Resident Evils, alongside with like Resident Evil 4. So I know a lot of people are very excited about Resident Evil 2 remake, and I'm excited for it as well. Like, being someone who's never played Resident Evil 2 and being able to sort of jump into it, like remodeled and reanimated and just remade in general, it's quite exciting. They had some gameplay, like a gameplay demo like booth at E3, and like people's impressions are like, yeah, it plays like Resident Evil 4, but it has like the Resident Evil 2 storyline to it, and it's generally scary. So that's a very good thing to hear. So yeah, I'm actually quite looking forward to that when it comes out. And when it comes out is January 25th of next year, so 2019. And just, you know, that's my birthday, so that might be a birthday present for me. What I might have to get for myself. Next they showed Death Stranding, and right off the gate they showed a baby butt. So you can tell that this is a Kojima game. So, with Death Stranding, trailers before that were always very weird but very interesting and kept you intrigued. With this, they showed gameplay, and boy, like, you can tell that they had nothing to show, and they had to get something out there because obviously Sony was probably on their arse like, you gotta have something, you gotta get something. And it's very blatant that they didn't have anything to show because it was so boring and generally just like made me uninterested in the game. When before I was like all in, I was like, what is this game? Like, I want to see more of this. But after seeing that, you know, I was just like, what? Like, really? So what they showed was just Norman Reedus walking around mountains carrying stuff, and from the looks of it he looks like he's going to be some like delivery guy, and yeah, that was pretty much all they showed, was just him walking. It was very boring. So yeah, it can't be their fault. I assume, I gotta imagine it was Sony just on their arse like, you gotta do something. But yeah, early impressions. You know, I hope it's good. You know, I really do hope it's good. I hope Kojima can, you know, make something great. But yeah, that's all I can talk about Death Stranding, unfortunately. So moving on. Next they showed Insomniac Games Spider-Man. So last year I was quite, you know, I wouldn't say like I didn't like what I saw, but there was parts of it where I was like, ooh, really? Like, it looked very quick-timey last year. This year, you know, they actually showed a lot more and no quick-time events, which is very nice. So, combat looks very fun, looks fluent, kind of reminds me a bit like Batman. So that looks very fun and satisfying. Swinging looks great, being able to swing from buildings and poles and stuff. That looks very fun and fluent. Obviously, there was Electro, Rhino, Vulture, Scorpion, and the new villain, he's like some black and white dude. He looks sort of weird, but we can speculate that it's probably going to be based around the Sinister Six a lot. Like, they're going to be like the villains in the Spider-Man game. But right at the end, there was a big tease that, you know, Spider-Man was getting like messed up. And then, like, he saw this thing, like, kind of approach, and then he's like, oh, what are you doing here, sort of thing. And then the demo ends. And now moving on to Microsoft's press conference, and I gotta say, this was probably the best press conference of this year. Microsoft really did come out there, all guns blazing, and was like, yo, what up? So, yeah, that's just my opinion. I thought they did a really good job on showing what they wanted to show, and they showed quite a lot. So, starting with a teaser trailer for Halo Infinite. We have no idea what this is. So what it showed was like landscape of like stuff, and then like Master Chief holding his helmet, and then it comes up with the title Halo Infinite. We have no idea if this is going to be a sequel or some sort of like spin-off, but yeah, that was our opening. Next they showed Ori Will of the Wisps. Now this is quite hard to talk about because the sort of game it is. Now, I adored Ori and the Blind Forest. I thought it was a fantastic game and I thoroughly enjoyed that. So Ori Will of the Wisps just looks great to me. Like, it looks like they've got Ori and the Blind Forest but just have improved it massively. And I'm excited for it. All I can say is that it is hard to explain what I mean, so just go watch the sort of gameplay demo for it and you'll see exactly what I mean, but that is coming out 2019 sometime. Next they showed Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Now, this is a game from Software, so I'm very excited about this because picture this. Imagine Dark Souls, but based in like a samurai universe. It looks great. I'm so excited for this. So picture like Dark Souls gameplay, but in like a samurai universe. Oh, it looks awesome. All I can say is that if you're a Dark Souls fan or a Bloodborne fan, just go watch the gameplay trailer. It looks amazing. That's all I'm gonna say on it. It just looks awesome. They then showed some Crackdown 3. Now, I'm not exactly the guy to ask because I'm not exactly like a Crackdown person, but I can say from last year it definitely does look like an improvement from what they showed this year. So that is something I can say with confidence, that this year what they showed was a lot better than what they showed last year. So that's sort of as much as I can say on that, because like I said, I am not huge on Crackdown, so I don't know if it looks good or if it plays well. Like, maybe some Crackdown fans can let me know what they think on the gameplay trailer they sort of showed, and what they think. But yeah, they got a release date for February 2019, so it got delayed again, but you know, as long as they take their time and it comes out working and stuff, then, you know, no problems there. Very quickly, Nier Automata is coming out to Xbox One this month, so June 26th. So originally this used to be an only PS4 game, but it's now coming to Xbox One. You know, I'm quite excited for this. I do have a PS4, but just never picked up Nier Automata for some odd reason. And I don't know why, but I have an Xbox One X, so being able to play Nier Automata on X rather than just a normal PS4 seems like the better option now. So I'll probably have to pick it up on there. But anyway, yeah, that's that. Sea of Thieves got a new trailer for its new content coming out. So they showed the Cursed Sails, which is coming out July this year, and they showed the Forsaken Shores, which is coming out September this year. So the Cursed Sails looks like it's going to be like enemy AIs in boats, like sailing the seas now. So you'll now have like enemy threats other than like real players now, like attacking you, which, you know, hopefully that'll be good. And Forsaken Shores, from the teaser they showed, was that it's going to be like a new region in the sea, and it's going to be like all lava and fire and ash and like kind of volcanic rocks like flying out into the sea, that sort of thing. So yeah, you know, there's sort of like a love-hate relationship with me with Sea of Thieves. Like, you know, I can see Sea of Thieves go into places. Like, they have the stuff there to make such a great game with Sea of Thieves, but at the moment it's kind of a bit bland. So I hope as the months come on and they add all this new stuff, which, you know, all credit due to them, they have been, you know, frequently adding stuff now. You know, hopefully this can become like such a bigger game than what it originally was. So yeah, that was the Sea of Thieves trailer. Forza Horizon 4 got announced. Now, I'm not big on racing or Forza, so again, I'm not probably the person to ask about this, if it looks good or not. But from what they showed, you know, it looked pretty good. So Forza Horizon 4 is based in Britain. Whee! It's based in Britain. It's based over here. And there's season changes, so we're going to see like summer, winter, autumn and spring. And with these season changes, the world is going to like dynamically change. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. Like, if you join a server and it's like, what season do you want to play in? You click what season you want to play in and join that server. Or like, over time it just sort of changes, like, as you're playing. Like, that seemed pretty odd and weird. But yeah. And that is coming out this year on October 2nd. Cuphead got a new expansion DLC announced called Cuphead and the Delicious Last Course. So, can't really say much about this as it was only sort of like a teaser for it. But it's coming out in 2019 and there's a new playable character, the Chalice. So yeah, I loved Cuphead, so getting more Cuphead like content, you know, I'm happy about that. You know, Cuphead deserves the love it gets, and yeah, I'm very excited for that. Now, a very surprising odd thing what they announced was Jump Force. Now, what Jump Force is, it's a game about different anime characters fighting one another. So what the trailer showed was Naruto, the One Piece character, some Dragon Ball Z characters, and right at the end of the trailer they showed the Death Note character. And it's going to be a fighting game based on anime characters, and I imagine there's going to be like loads more as well. So it's going to be like a huge mashup of like popular animes fighting one another, which I can assume that a lot of anime fans and fighting game fans are quite hyped about. But yeah, that was Jump Force. They then showed some Dying Light 2. Now, a big thing about this is that they said that your choices will matter massively in the game. So for example, if you're doing like a story beat or just a side quest, you will have choices to make in the world and with certain characters, and depending on your choices will affect the characters around you and also change the world dynamically, as in terms of like who runs it sort of thing. So I'm quite curious to see how that plays out. I know there's a huge fan base for Dying Light, and I know that a lot of people are happy to see a sequel to Dying Light 2. So yeah, that is Dying Light 2. Very quickly, they showed a teaser trailer for a new Battletoads game, which is coming out 2019. So they said that this is going to be like a 4-player couch co-op game, and it's going to be like a 2.5D game, that sort of thing. That was it. Not even joking, that's as much as I can say on it. They then showed some Gears of War stuff and made the announcement of Gears Tactics, which is going to be a XCOM-like game based in the Gears of War universe. I have been saying this for years that this needs to happen. We need an XCOM game based in the Gears universe. I have been saying that for so long, and my wishes have been answered. I am pretty happy about this because it just, you know, it makes sense to have that genre of game with the Gears universe. Like, they could do so much with it. All we know is that Gears Tactics is going to be based 12 years before Gears of War 1, but that is all they showed and the information they shared with that. And then afterwards they announced Gears of War 5, which is coming out in 2019. So with this, they showed like a cutscene, and you play as Kate and Del, and it's based in wintertime, and from what they've showed, it looks pretty great. Like, when they showed when they announced Gears of War 5, I was like, oh boy, am I ready for this? Like, I was kind of like a bit disappointed with Gears of War 4. Like, I'm not saying Gears of War 4 was bad in any way, like, it is a good game, but just some parts of it let me down. But then what they showed and what they, like, the information they shared, I was actually like, actually, I think I am ready for Gears 5. So, in other words, it looked pretty good what they showed. And then to end off their press conference, they showed a trailer for Cyberpunk 2077, which is the new CD Projekt Red game, which are the Witcher 3 developers. Now, there is a huge difference between Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher 3, being that Witcher 3 is all like fantasy, swords and magic. As for Cyberpunk, it is like guns and obviously a cyberpunk universe, like futuristic. So I am very interested to see if they can pull this off or not. But from what they showed, like the sort of trailer they put together, you know, it looks pretty impressive, and I'm quite excited for it. So that is as much as I can say on Cyberpunk. And with that, E3 2018 is over, and as you can imagine, I will probably not be doing some gaming news with Jake for quite some time because, you know, all the gaming information come out now and anything new will probably take quite a while to arrive. So, you know, there'll probably be a huge break for gaming news with Jake with that. But yeah, that is it. So, see you later.